Aloha and welcome to our video for 1.5, the cycles of life. The goals for today's video are going to list the 4 cycles of life, to describe energy and understand what happens in an energy cycle, to describe what happens in the growth cycle, to explain what happens during the evolutionary cycle, and then finally to describe the ecological cycle. One of the things we'll notice several times throughout this course is that a lot of things happen in cycles, and we'll talk about these various cycles throughout the course. There are 4 primary life cycles. We have the energy cycle, the growth cycle, the evolutionary cycle, and finally an ecological cycle. And all of these are interrelated and interdependent, meaning that they rely on each other, they help each other. Some of them end where other ones pick up and things of that nature. So these cycles are all interrelated, and I want you to keep that in mind, not only through this lesson, but as we go through the course. Okay, first let's talk about the energy cycle. And the energy cycle is one of those that you have to learn as you're going through the class. There's 2 primary parts to it. We have photosynthesis and cellular respiration. Photosynthesis is where we take carbon dioxide and water, add the energy from the sun as sunlight here, and we make sugars. And we also have oxygen as a byproduct. Cellular respiration takes that sugar and the oxygen together and generates energy that's usable for living things, and their byproducts come back here. And we can see how this cycle continues over and over again. And that's what we're talking about as it being a cycle. Now the growth cycle is going to be a little bit different for different organisms. Here we have a real simple example of them. We start off with little baby eggs over here. Those eggs of a frog are going to turn into a tadpole. Tadpole is going to feed until it gets a little bit bigger. It's going to lose its tail, grow some legs over here. It's going to lose its gills and get some lungs inside here. We get a little baby frog, and then that frog will grow into an adult frog, and the adult frog will then reproduce by producing more eggs here, and we can see how that cycle will continue around and around and around. Now the evolutionary cycle is going to be a little bit more complex, and we'll talk about that one a little bit later when we talk about evolution. But basically we're going to start with something like a mutation, some new thing. That new thing is going to be evaluated by where it's living. And as it's being evaluated like that, this is the process we call selection. So it's going to sort them into useful morphs, whether it's a good variety or a bad variety. The good ones will have the opportunity to go on and replicate. The bad ones will be killed off. Nature doesn't play games, it just kind of eliminates things. As they replicate, they will continue to go through this cycle, but occasionally they'll have some kind of a change, and this process begins all over again. Okay, the final cycle is the ecological cycle, and the ecological cycle is how we trace things moving through the ecosystem. And the things that we're looking at are carbon, phosphorus, nitrogen, water, and oxygen, and all of those things are important for living things, and they all travel through a cyclic nature through the ecosystem. Now, even though there's 5 different cycles here, all of those cycles are interrelated and they depend on each other, and that's why we have the ecological cycle. Okay, so we'll cover that a little bit more in this lesson, and then we'll be talking about this a whole bunch throughout the rest of this course. That's it for this video. Go ahead and have fun in the lessons. Hopefully you learn a lot, and we'll see you in the next video.